The Last Survivors, Olive and Cary's horrifying journey through the wreckage of the world. It was the end of the world as we knew it. The air was thick with smoke, and the streets were silent. I am Cary, and I have been surviving in this post-apocalyptic world for years now. Most of what I remember from the time before the disaster has become hazy, but I can still feel the fear and panic I experienced when it first hit. The sun had just started to set, and I was making my way down the deserted streets, scavenging for any supplies I could find. I had been searching for days with no success, but something about this area seemed different. It was as if the world had swallowed everything and anything that could be useful was now gone. I was beginning to lose hope when I heard the faint sound of a woman's voice. My heart raced as I drew closer, and I saw a figure in the distance. The woman, Olive, was searching through the rubble, much like me. She had beautiful auburn hair, and emerald green eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. I don't know what it was about her, but I felt an instant connection. We exchanged a brief conversation, and I was amazed to hear that she had been surviving on her own for months. The night was coming, and I didn't want to abandon her out in the open, so I invited her to spend the night with me in one of the abandoned buildings. We made our way through the rubble, and I could tell that she was terrified, just like me. Eventually, we reached a small, dusty room, and she curled up under one of the tattered blankets. There was an uncomfortable silence between us as we tried to get some rest, but I could feel the weight of her presence, and it was oddly comforting. That's when I heard it. A faint scratching noise coming from the wall. The sound grew louder with every passing second, and I could hear Olive's breath quicken with fear. I needed to see what it was, so I got up and made my way over to the source of the noise. As I reached for the wall, the scratching suddenly ceased. I paused, my hand hovering over the musty, peeling wallpaper, until I heard the noise again, this time from the other side of the room. I turned, terrified to see Olive slowly rising from the blanket, her eyes glued to the corner of the room. There was a flicker of movement, and I could see it too. Something was moving in the shadows. It was then I realized that we were not alone. In a strange unison, we both took a step back as we watched something small and black creep cautiously out of the corner, its beady eyes fixed upon us. It was a rat, but this was no ordinary rat. It seemed abnormally large, and its coat shone a strange, oily black in the dim light. We stood frozen, watching as it approached us, its movements unnaturally smooth. I didn't know what to do. My mind was racing, searching for a solution, and then it hit me. I had a flashlight. I hastily rummaged through my bag, grabbing my flashlight and shining its bright beam at the creature. The light revealed something no less terrifying than the darkness itself. The rat's eyes glimmered red and bloodshot, its mouth agape in a strange, toothy snarl. It held the flashlight beam in its sight, warily circling us, its sharp claws flexing in and out of their sheaths. Then, without warning, it pounced. Olive and I screamed as it lunged at us, slashing at the air with razor-sharp claws. The rat was practically flying by now, its coat trailing like liquid smoke as it twisted and turned in the air. We tried to dodge it, but it was like it had caught on to our movements, predicting what we were going to do before we did it. It was then that I noticed something else happening. The walls were blackening. It was as if a thick, oily substance was seeping through the walls, sizzling and crackling like popping popcorn. Then, I heard Olive scream, and my heart dropped into my stomach. I spun around to see the rat had managed to get a hold of her, its claws digging deep into her skin. Her eyes were glazed over, and she was gasping for air. I knew she was dying. I'm not sure what happened next, but something changed. I felt a flood of energy course through me, like nothing I've ever experienced before. And suddenly, the rat was gone. It was like a switch had been flicked, and everything went back to normal. The walls stopped blackening, and Olive lay motionless on the floor. I can't explain it, but everything felt like it had been cleansed. I had no choice but to leave Olive behind. I couldn't carry her, and I was on my own again. I wandered for days, trying to make sense of what had happened. I eventually stumbled upon a group of survivors, but I didn't tell them what had happened. The truth was terrifying, and I was scared they'd think I was crazy. But now, every night, as I settle down to sleep, I can't help but wonder what has become of Olive, and what was lurking in those shadows. The thought of what may still be out there, waiting for its next victim, terrifies me just as much as the idea of being completely alone.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and tell us what you think in the comments. And of course, don't forget to subscribe.